Hey, dorks, GetFlappy here. Are we dorks? Do we like dorks? Session 0 is something we rarely see from pro DMs, and an unfortunate side effect of D&D shows is that Session 0 can be depicted as behind-the-scenes work, and therefore unimportant to home campaigns, when it may be the single most important session. So what aren't the pro DMs showing us? I've done a ton of research to understand why it's important, what to cover, and the biggest takeaways, and I'll get to that in a second. But I noticed that Session 0 boils down to a single job. Make your players as comfortable as possible at the table, or virtual table, or giant turtle, whatever surface you actually play on. Let's dive in. The biggest thing to cover at Session 0 is communication. Notably, communication is really important for player safety. Some topics can simply be downright upsetting to people. James Hake puts it really well in an episode of Todd Talks.
One person's fun, cathartic horror is another person's deeply, legitimately psychologically triggering event. And if you want to play straw to the hilt as the suave sexual abuser that vampires can be, you want to make sure that everyone on your table is okay with that sort of thing.
If a player is really uncomfortable at the table, you can't have a good faith RP with everyone. Lines and veils are common ways to start this conversation, but it should be understood that the conversation isn't over as soon as Session 0 is over. It's an ongoing talk that's open at any time. For more tools on player safety, I included a link to an article about X cards, which is really cool, and that is in the description. Apart from safety, it's also pretty important at this time to remind your players to communicate openly with the DM about character feelings. It's the only real way that the DM can know what's going on in the mind of a character. It helps them not get frustrated when their feelings can be recognized by the person who is supposed to be omnipresent at the table. Now, let's be honest, rules as written are for chumps. No, but it would be pretty noteworthy to play a wholly rules as written D&D campaign. I'd actually be interested in hearing about that. Talk about house rules with your players. Make totally clear any house rules that you have or would like to see implemented in the campaign. I keep a running list of common house rules that I use, and then I also open the discussion for players to tell me about their house rules that they like to use. Clarity on game rules is really going to improve that player comfort that we're working to achieve here. After you've covered rules, it's time to move on to liking this video. Liking gets the video to more eyes, and it can help more people. So, if you like it so far, just click the button down below. Now, Session 0 can be a great place to work on characters and their current situation. If you haven't already, work with your players to decide on a clear tone, genre, and setting. Once that's set up, help players to work out their relationships throughout the world and their relationships to one another. This will help develop those bonds, ideals, and flaws that sometimes players have a hard time coming up with on their own. Next, allow space to try out characters. Let your characters be themselves and have an opportunity to play before things get canonized. If you're worried about messing with the story dynamic by playing before you actually play, I really wouldn't. Brennan Lee Mulligan lets the entire cast play their characters and runs a combat with them before the season even starts or the camera's rolling.
After character creation, we'll do a cast cohesion, which is just a sort of Session 0, no cameras rolling, where the players play their characters to kind of get in the vibe, so that the first time they're voicing these characters, they're not here at the table.
I literally not once felt like this diminishes the story that's being told in Dimension 20. Even though you don't have actual cameras rolling, once you move into the canon of your own campaign, the hypothetical cameras are rolling, and it can actually leave your players feeling unprepared and therefore uncomfortable. So giving them an option or an opportunity to play out their characters beforehand, it lets them feel comfortable with the character before you actually start. After that comes anything else you can think of to improve player comfort. After all, it's your main job here. If you have some bonus advice for Session 0, please leave it in the comments or head over to the Discord. The link for that is in the description as well. I hope this was helpful, and I'll catch you next time.